Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy us a podcast.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I am truly overwhelmed. But you know, folks, and you have all heard me say this at one point or another in this campaign, I have always believed that the people of Alabama had more in common than to divide us. We have shown, not just around the state of Alabama, but we have shown the country the way that we can be unified. That this, I have said from the very beginning, this campaign has never been about me. It's never been about Roy Moore. It has been about every one of you and your sons and daughters. It's all of those volunteers that knocked on 300,000 doors. The African American community, thank you. My friends in the Latino community, thank you. To all my Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah.
Yay! Happy Hanukkah! To all my Jewish friends that aren't lawyers, it's okay. Come out, whatever you want. Wow, we took the seat. We took the ruby red seat. Hate to say I told you so, but I done did. First of all, thank you, Alabama. You really came through. Secondly, Alabama, you gave a pedophile 48.4% of the vote. Hello, we have a lot of work to do. Not done here. Not done. We're on it. Wow, that was amazing. And it just shows that Democrats can win any place in this country as long as Republicans keep working as hard and long as they are on losing. Keep on picking those candidates, Bannon. You freak. You loser. That's what they would say to us, right? I mean, it's bad news for Mitch McConnell. It's bad news for Donald Trump. It's not as bad as if Roy Moore had won for Mitch McConnell, but it's really stinking bad news for the Republican Party. The Republican Party has effectively become a party of the sticks, meaning a rural party. And that is that. That is what the Republican Party is about. It's about, cabin dwellers and, people who drive little girls out into the woods, and over the river and through those woods to Roy Moore's house they go to lay out a blanket and, get raped. Wow. Who knew? This is unbelievable. But think about this. This is something that only Donald Trump could do. So in this weird way, we say thank you to Donald Trump because Hillary tried it and she couldn't do it, but Donald Trump did what Hillary Clinton could not do. And that was motivate African American voters to go out and vote for the Democrats. Woo! We need more robocalls, out there from Donald. Donald Trump needs to call about every, stinking candidate. What'd we do? We elected ourselves a Democratic governor in Virginia over the former RNC chairman, Ed Gillespie. Pulled that one out of our ass, and now we pulled this one out of our ass. You better, stop grabbing our ass because more Democrats are going to fall out. I'm just saying. Boys will be held accountable for their behavior. Yeah. Oh, it's very exciting. I got to say, this is the best Hanukkah present ever. It's better than the gold coins. It's better. It's better than that. Ooh, it's good. It's better than a dreidel. Oh, I loved it. Oh, did I love. I was like, and it was so suspenseful, wasn't it? I mean, it was down to the last freaking votes because while we did win this seat by 1.5 percentage points, which is 3 times greater than 0.5%, which would trigger a recount, which is what Roy Moore thinks God is going to do. Because apparently in Roy Moore's world, God chooses sides in elections. I really did not know that. I really did not realize that God chooses the winner of football games, or that God chooses the winner of the Alabama primaries, or that God chooses the senator from Alabama in a special election. You would think during this time of year, you know, Jesus being the reason for the season and all, that you would think he's busy talking to Santa about how to, you know, get your stuff there on time. But apparently Roy Moore thinks God. I mean, this was just unbelievable that he would not concede, even though 3 times the amount of votes were received by Doug Jones. That would trigger a recount. I mean, somebody needs to teach this man something about, the system.
Realize when the vote is this close that it's not over.
It is.
And we've still got to go by the rules about this recount provision. That's what we've got to do, is wait on God.
What?
And let this process play out.
Do you expect anything other than Mr. Jones being the next senator from the state of Alabama?
Now, I would find that highly unlikely to occur, Jay.
That's the Secretary of State there, John Merrill. The fact that we all know John Merrill's name, or some of us do, is creepy. It's just weird. I mean, that I would know the Secretary of State of Alabama. I hope I forget it as soon as I learned it. You know what I mean? It would just be such a great thing. But, Roy Moore wants a recount. He actually got 3 times less votes than the actual threshold for a recount. So, listen, Roy. He was telling his people last night to sleep on it. Really? Sleep on it. Alabama, wake up. Don't sleep. Wake up. Wake up. 48.4% of you voted for a man accused of pedophilia by 6 women. I mean, wake the hell up. That is just so crazy. But why don't you just do what Trump does when he loses? Just, just go around the country complaining that there were fraudulent votes or some such thing. Just go around reliving it over and over and over and over again. I mean, this is just unbelievable. But you know what? The voters of Alabama had a message last night for Roy Moore and the horse he rode in on. Isn't that something? You know, when a man is being questioned about what goes on between his legs, do you really want to be seen riding a horse that's out of control, showing you cannot control what goes on between your legs? I mean, that was just creepy. Him and, let's just remember Kayla one last time, shall we? Just one, come on. Just one little. Which one's Kayla? Very bottom. Why is she on the bottom?
Fake news would tell you that we don't care for Jews. I tell you all this because I've seen it all, so I just want to set the record straight while they're here. One of our attorneys is a Jew.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus God. You think she lost him the election there? Because there were a lot of people that just didn't give a rat's ass that he has been accused by 6 women of, trolling malls and, preying on teenage girls and denying that he knew them, even though 2 of them. Oh, by the way, the reactions were just, the reactions were a scream from across the board. But the most important reactions, I thought were, well, I love Charles Barkley, I got to say, but Beverly Johnson, who was so brave and came out to, tell her story, and Tina Johnson, who came out to tell her story. I mean, these women were so excited last night. It was unbelievable.
What does Roy Moore's loss mean to you?
Roy Moore's loss means to me the fact that Alabama is about to make some changes, and I believe it's going to be in the positive side of things. I'm very excited. I want to congratulate Doug Jones for his win. I'm super excited. I could not even say more.
The Valium needs to be cut back because I can't. Did you feel the super excitement? I just, no.
Yes, I'm crying. I'm sorry.
See,
I'm sorry.
This is Tina Johnson. She actually wept.
I am just thrilled that, that speaking out did make a difference.
It did.
And that we won't be silenced anymore, and that no matter where you at or what you do, you can speak, you can tell what happened, and someone will listen, and it will make a difference. I'm so excited for Alabamians that they really did come together and do something wonderful.
Well, that was nice. It really was. These women, it didn't seem like they were taking a victory lap in all seriousness. It just seemed like they felt heard. They felt that their stories were listened to. Can you imagine their grief, their unbelievable sadness if Roy Moore would have been elected by their own fellow citizens in Alabama after they wept openly on television and told these really difficult stories? I mean, that would have been the heartbreaker. So while I was celebrating last night, it was the best Hanukkah present ever, and today's my anniversary, so maybe they'll certify the vote today. No, not quite. But today's our Howard and my anniversary. 9 years, everybody. Feels like 10, but 9. It's 9. Feels like 10, but 9. Feels like 10. But, it was a great present last night, I have to say. But when I saw those women, I thought that's really, where the joy should be felt the most, is that these girls, 6 of them, women, they're not girls anymore. They're grown women in their 50s, came out and told these really, really difficult stories about these horrible experiences, being taken around a restaurant and into a dumpster and locked in the car, and he was the head pusher, right into the crotch, which is, Pesci. I mean, that's a Pesci move, it's just gross. And then, just knowing that, there were, when you look at the breakdown, I mean, we owe a lot of thanks to African-American voters in Alabama who showed up in bigger numbers, believe it or not, in an off election, in a special election on December the 12th, which is an odd time of year to begin with, and it's been freezing cold down there. They had like an unexpected snowstorm and all, that African Americans showed up in greater numbers to vote against Roy Moore and for Doug Jones, who's been a friend to the African American community for a very, very long time. He's been a partner for the African American community since he was a prosecutor there. Since just a long, long record of friendship and advocacy and justice and seeking the truth on behalf. And the African American community did not let him down. More blacks in Birmingham and other counties. The Black Belt, which is named for the soil, but they say Black Belt now because that's where African Americans typically settled in Alabama. Showed up for Doug Jones than did for Obama. That's how great the African-American turnout was. So we owe you. We thank you. Perhaps the Democrats will stop taking you for granted and understand that you will show up for somebody who has been a partner for your issues and communities and stop running people that haven't. That would be a good lesson to take from all this, wouldn't it? I would like that with a lesson. That and Steve Bannon is a douchebag. Those would be the lessons I would like to take from this. It was amazing. And Trump's approval rating in Alabama, when he ran, remember this is where he liked to have all those big rallies? He had I think he won that election by 73%. 48% approve, 48% disapprove, and Doug Jones is going to be a Democratic senator from Alabama.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at the Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, as she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. The news out of Trump Town comes so fast and furious that it feels to many progressives as if they're being hit on all possible fronts at once. Senate Republicans approve a tax bill that would further pillage the poor one day. The president opens millions of acres of protected federal and indigenous land to drilling the next. The day after that, the White House is recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and scuttling, we're told, the Middle East peace process. It's reckless, the press call it, but that doesn't seem the right word. The Trump GOP seems all about reckoning and paying their big donors back. It doesn't take a long research project to see how all these moves are connected. In Israel, the White House is in bed with the most far-right racist government in that country's history. They're in bed with the same sort of people in the U.S. In the Americas, their respect for indigenous land and rights and people is virtually non-existent, just as it is in the Middle East. In Israel, Washington plans to spend $38 billion in military aid over the next 10 years, while they simultaneously raid public coffers in the U.S. states. If there's any silver lining to the Trump apocalypse, surely, it's that the veneer of a social contract has been blown up. Government by the people, for the people, it's as dead as that Middle East peace process, which, by the way, Trump didn't destroy because it didn't exist. As far as the Palestinians are concerned, there's no peace process and there'll be no peace. Trade unions, political parties, NGOs, and refugee groups, essentially all of Palestinian civil society, called for a general strike in response to the White House announcement. In the U.S., the penny still has to drop. It's not recklessness on myriad fronts. It's all one front. It's all one wreck. You can watch this week's report on how activists in the South are coming together in the U.S. to build shared power this week on The Laura Flanders Show, on Link TV, Free Speech TV, CUNY TV, or on our own YouTube channel. Find out more at lauraflanders.com. And thanks.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
He just should have stepped up and fought it more that he was not guilty. And I don't think he was guilty. I think the women wanted more out of him than he gave them, and they blew the whistle on him. There's women like that. If they don't get everything they go for, then they blow the whistle on the man that they're going for.
I don't think he could have done anything differently. I think his enemies could have done differently. I don't think the allegations of those women were true.
Oh my God.
Has been proven in the last few days. Has enemies in the Republican Party. I think because he's a Christian. I think he's been telling his story for decades. And I think the big crowd here showed how much support he has. And I think there's a reason for everything that happens, and I think some good will come out of this. And maybe the military vote will put Judge Moore over.
Well, I think that it was a close race. I think the Democrats did a good job of getting out and get those Democrats that didn't have rides. They went to get them to take them to the polls to vote. Senator Shelby turned on the Republican grassroots. Now he's an insider. He's a Republican, higher up Republican. He voted for Strange and supported Strange against Judge Moore. But what got me about it was he should have kept his mouth shut and let the people of Alabama decide who they wanted as senator.
I thought the senator from Alabama was a person from Alabama. I thought Richard Shelby, the senior senator from Alabama, was from Alabama. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But it is amazing how they're still defending this guy. That's what I'm saying. We got a lot of work to do. But you know, Trump is crazy. You know that with the tweeting, just with the tweeting, because his first tweet congratulating Doug Jones said. And I really don't think he wrote it. I mean, we were tweeting all last night, but I really don't think that this came from his little, tiny, teeny fingers. But he said the write-in votes played a very big factor. Yes, Donald, those would be Republicans who couldn't bear the thought of voting for the guy you selected and supported with money and robocalls and with the RNC's full support. the Republican National Committee not only endorsed Roy Moore, the president not only endorsed Roy Moore, but the president did, ordered, if you will, the Republican National Committee, of which he is the titular leader, to support Roy Moore with money. And then by this morning, Donald Trump was trying to say that he had it right all along. Now, you know that last guy right there? Well, you know, Richard Shelby, he picked Luther Strange in the primary. Well, so did Donald Trump. Donald Trump was all about Luther Strange. He campaigned with Luther Strange. He went down to Alabama with Luther Strange. He was a supporter of Luther Strange in the primary. And then in the general, he went with Roy Moore. So the president has been wrong twice because apparently in crazy ass's head, 2 wrongs make him right. That's amazing. I can't. And then he tweeted, I said Roy Moore would not be able to win the general election, and I was right. Yet, oddly, you bet heavily on him against the rest of your party. How freaking dumb are you? Now we know why your casinos lost to the gamblers. It's the only casino in the history of the universe that ever, didn't win. The only house in casino gambling history that didn't win. But this had to be my favorite moment pre-election. I got to play this before this gets, so what does this have to do with anything in your heads? Because, short attention span theater. But last night, this was just a scream. We were just getting off and cleaning up. And Jake Tapper was interviewing Ted Crockett. Ted Crockett is an elected official in Alabama who supported and campaigned for Roy Moore and was a spokesperson for Roy Moore. I mean, we'll never forget Janet Porter. I mean, that woman was just bat-crap crazy. And she came from Ohio as an interloper, because she's all love the fetus, molest the child is apparently the T-shirts she wears around the mall. But this guy really took the cake. I mean, he made her look almost sane. Ted Crockett, everybody, on why Keith Ellison and Muslims can't serve in the United States House of Representatives or in the U.S. Senate. Here's the reason why at long last.
Judge Moore has also said that he doesn't think a Muslim member of Congress should be allowed to be in Congress. Why? Under what provision of the Constitution?
Because you have to swear on the Bible. When you are before, I had to do it. I'm an elected official, 3 terms. I had to swear on the Bible. You have to swear on the Bible to be an elected official in the United States of America. He alleges that a Muslim cannot do that ethically, swearing on the Bible.
You don't actually have to swear on a Christian Bible. You can swear on anything, really. I don't know if you knew that. You can swear on a Jewish Bible.
Oh, no, I swore on the Bible. I've done it 3 times.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've picked a Bible, but the law is not that you have to swear on a Christian Bible. That is not the law.
Watch this.
You don't know that? All right, Ted Crockett with
I don't know. I know that Donald Trump did it when we made him president.
Because he's Christian and he picked it. That's what he wanted to. That's what he wanted to swear in on. Ted Crockett with the More campaign. Good luck tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely correct, sir.
It was the best moment of the whole thing. Oh no, I know you have to. You're forced to swear allegiance to Christ. I know you do, because I'm an elected official in Alabama. I had to, Jake. No, it's because you chose to. Yes. What? What? Well, you don't have to. You chose to because well, Donald Trump did it too. It is the law. It. Believe me. Oh my God, that was just priceless. I loved it. Jim in Huntington Beach.
Damn, Randy, you are good.
I know.
Damn, you're good. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's like I do this once a year. I call you once a year, and I just basically go, you know what? Thank you for doing the goddamn hard work. I feel like I have a secret weapon a lot of times when I'm talking with people. And my routine, it has not varied for very long. It's basically, I do Morning Joe. I do this all by podcast. Morning Joe, and then I laugh with Stephanie. I wait for you, and then I kind of wait for Randi Rhodes, and in between there, I listen to like a lot of music and podcasts. But you're just amazing. Thank you for the hard work you do, and you know what I got to say, people? Garbage in, garbage out. Beautiful things in, beautiful things out. And I chalk everything up to just people not appreciating a free press, people not appreciating what good journalism is, and people not substantiating their sources. And it's not that hard. And you know what? There's always been fake news. It's not new. You substantiate your sources. You ever heard of a fucking Pulitzer? You people... So that's all I got to say. I love you. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy, Kwanzaa. All of it. But
back at you. Thank you.
I will get I'm raising 4 daughters with my wife, but I'm asking for a podcast, and you just deserve so much more. You deserve. You're fucking amazing, man. So have a great one. I love you. Hey, one more thing. To anybody who doesn't know, take a listen to the guitar solo in Mr. Crowley on Diary of a Madman if you want to know who the hell Randi Rhodes was.
Oh, yeah.
And what a genius, beautiful human being that guy was.
Yeah.
And I love you that you respected that guy enough to take that moniker.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for knowing the truth about why I am called Randi Rhodes, and it is after him. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. This was just a beauty of a thing. This was really, really, really stinking awesome. And, it's I'm going to miss, the Jew lawyer, the one in Alabama. I just, and if Roy Moore wanted to recount, maybe he should have consulted with his Jew lawyer. That would have been good. Teresa in Tuscumbia, Alabama.
Hi, Randi.
Hey.
Hell yes.
Hell yes.
I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, hi.
And we are a 2-podcast family.
Aw.
And I grew up in Alabama, near Birmingham, went to Auburn, moved away from the state for about 25 years to Ann Arbor, Michigan, recently returned, and oh my God, this state has not changed since 1987.
I was just going to say, though, welcome to the 21st century. It's the first time Alabama has even had a taste of this new century.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome.
It is.
But, I moved from the most blue county in Michigan down to one of the most red counties in northwest Alabama. In fact, you were talking to somebody from Florence yesterday, and I thought,
Trish. Yep.
She's just from across the river from me.
Yes. Hi, Trish. Good for you. She voted for Doug Jones yesterday. She was just beside herself with some of her neighbors, but yeah.
Well, I just wanted to call and say, don't let us secede, because there are some people in Alabama that are worth holding on to.
Hey, I was really close to breaking up with you guys.
And I went to the Colbert County, courthouse this morning to do some business, and I overheard some people saying that Nick Saban got over 2,000 of the write-in votes.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, and that might have just been our county. I don't know. So, I don't know who Senator Shelby voted for, but maybe roll tide. Maybe it was Nick Saban, head coach of
the head coach of the that's amazing. That people love him, but enough to be a senator, I don't know. But that's incredible. That's just amazing. So
yeah, and I saw Bannon, and you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of those ASPCA commercials where they show you the real pitiful dogs because they want you to give them money and adopt animals and something.
Yeah.
And he just looks like one who wasn't adopted because he looks so scruffy and like he slept in his clothes for a week. And, he's such a good mouthpiece for the Republican Party.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was just last night it was a killer. Steve King from New York was a Republican, dyed-in-the-wool Republican. He was on the TV last night talking about Bannon, and he called him, at least yours was like, puppy love, but he called him like a disheveled drunk.
Yeah, well, that's what he looks like. And I really, I don't know what's come over the American people. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and I think it's Dementors. I don't know what it is. But for people to follow the Pied Piper of, Bannon, they're just going to go right over the edge like a bunch of lemmings.
Yeah.
And It's sad.
It's sad. It's sad. But, I appreciate the info on the write-in because I had heard rumors of that. I had.
Well, I'm hoping I can look on the internet and find out what the breakdown was because I'm sure there's some other hilarious characters that got that got written in.
Yeah,
and,
I'd like to see it too. I think, though, I do think, though, that Alabama won the right to burn the ballots.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the ballot was weird yesterday.
Why?
Because, there's only one thing we were voting for, and it was confusing. And, it said you could vote straight ticket, or then they also had it where you could...
I was reading that, and I didn't understand how in the world they could, come up. People did say they were very confused because they gave a straight ticket option, and there was only one issue on the ballot.
Yeah, it was just for Doug Jones or the idiot stick. And the guy that was working at the poll, he just said, "Oh, they're just idiots," But he thought it was pretty stupid too.
Yeah.
But what I'm afraid of? We started out watching the returns, and it was going for more. And of course, the small counties, the rural counties, they get their vote in earlier, and then finally Mobile and Birmingham, everybody was coming in.
Yeah.
And what I'm afraid of? We were all excited and like, "Oh, let's have a drink." But then we realized it was only 20,000 votes. And, I'll bet you Roy Moore is going to run again for something.
Oh, God.
And his people are still going to be around, It's just, anyway.
Well, he should run for mall cop or something.
Yeah, I think he wants to be on the Supreme Court. I don't know.
Again?
No, I mean the real Supreme Court.
Oh, the real one. Oh, gag me. God.
Yeah, and then he'd haul his 10 Commandments,
Stop it. I'm enjoying my day.
Well, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And I love your show. You're keeping me sane living here in the middle of the sticks.
We love you too, Teresa. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So this was classic. Check this out.
Why Bannon? Why is he such a big deal?
I was even raising this not even so much as a political issue, almost as a moral issue. This guy does not belong on the national stage. He looks like some disheveled drunk that wandered onto the political stage. He does not represent anything that I stand for. I consider myself a conservative Republican. I consider myself an Irish Catholic. And he sort of parades himself out there with his weird alt-right views that he has, and to me it's demeaning the whole governmental and political process. This summer I called on the president to fire him from the from the White House. And I think last night in Alabama was not just a political statement, that was really just a revulsion by people at his style, at his type of divisive views, which were political and governmental, whether he was involved in the White House trying to undercut the president on his foreign policy, whether he encourages racial division. This is not the type of person we need in politics. And last night's election was a manifestation of a revulsion by the American people.
Peter King, I know where you're from, and I know you like to knuckle up every now and then, but did you just call Steve Bannon a disheveled drunk?
No, to be very precise, I said he looks like one.
Now, you know that them's fighting words when it comes to Steve Bannon. Is that a fight that you want to take on?
I have no problem. Listen, you have to fight for what's right. And again, he's attacking the president's daughter the other night when he took a shot at Ivanka Trump by mocking her expression, your special place in hell. This person, to me, Bannon, does not belong on the American political scene. And there's nothing there that I identify with, and there's nothing there that really, to me, good Republicans or good Americans should identify with.
Wow, a disheveled drunk who belongs nowhere in public. That is a. So what does happen to Steve Bannon now? Where does he go from here? I know it's not going to be a barber shop. I know it's not going to be like a bar. Yeah. Oh my God, what a loser. What an absolute loser. This is what Mitch McConnell was trying to tell Donald Trump. Remember, Mitch McConnell said they were in the Rose Garden, Trump and McConnell. And McConnell, was asked whether or not he was going to, get down with the Roy Moore thing. And he said, I'm just so tired of, our party picking losers. And that was his comment on, Roy. I tell you, the biggest winner last night, besides for the people of Alabama, is Mitch McConnell, because Roy Moore going there, like I said, that would have been a burning tire around there. And it really should be, because the President of the United States endorsed a molester.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air RandiRhodes.com.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer, here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randy more than ever. Go to RandiRhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four of the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
I remember as a kid, the stereotypical things associated with girls were cooking, cleaning, fashion, interior design, anything to do with children, hair, makeup. But you know, as an adult, I realize that the top earners in all of these professions are men. How did this happen? Well, it's one of the conversations we're going to have on my new show called She Persisted. I'm your host, Melissa Carter, and as a media personality, a lesbian, a single mom, and a patient with a chronic disease, I can tell you, I certainly have some opinions, and I know that you do too. So let's be part of each other's lives and talk these things out on She Persisted. It's at 8 a.m. on the East on the Progressive Voices Network and on demand on the Progressive Voices app. I would really love for you to be part of the show because I believe that together we can go from She Persisted to She Thrived. I hope you'll join me.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Hi, this is President Donald Trump, and I need Alabama to go vote for Roy Moore.
Oh.
It is so important. We're already making America great again. I'm going to make America safer and stronger and better than ever before. But we need that seat. We need Roy voting for us. I'm stopping illegal immigration and crime, rebuilding a stronger military, and protecting the Second Amendment and our pro-life values. But if Alabama elects liberal Democrat Doug Jones, all of our progress will be stopped cold. We already know Democrat Doug Jones is a puppet of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and he will vote with the Washington liberals every single time. Democrat Jones is soft on crime, weak on immigration, supports abortion. He's bad for our military and bad for our vets. We don't want him. And he also, by the way, wants higher taxes. Roy Moore is the guy we need to pass our Make America Great Again agenda. Roy is a conservative who helped me steer this country back on track after 8 years of the Obama disaster. Get out and vote for Roy Moore. His vote is our Republican Senate,
Does
and
this
it's
ever
needed.
end?
We need Roy to help us with the Republican Senate. We will win, and we will make America great again.
Paid for by Judge Roy Moore for U.S. Senate.
334-549-9985.
Did that ever end? That was like the longest robocall this year. But he owns that now because Roy Moore is now stuck around that man's neck. And then he tweeted this morning, Roy worked hard, but the deck was stacked against him. Didn't you deal the cards? No, he owns this. He's 0 for 2. He picked Luther Strange lost. Then he picked Roy Moore, and Roy Moore lost. What do you think that is saying to you? That in a ruby red state like Alabama, a Democrat could get and I knew it when Roy Moore won that primary. Didn't I tell you? Oh, I wish the Democratic Party would become involved. I really, really do, because we can take that seat. We can take that seat. Jerry in Baltimore.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
And I'm sorry, but the Democrats and Doug Jones need to give you and your listeners a little credit, because sending all those podcasts there and getting your listeners on it, you deserve some applause. Come on now. I mean...
Oh, thank you. Well, but actually that idea was not my own, and I never steal other people's great ideas. I will, give attribution. This was a guy, we call him Iron Man or Mr. Iron, who actually wrote to me and made the donation and said, only people in Alabama. I am giving this money for you to give away 10 podcasts to people only in Alabama. And it started a whole flurry of things. Judy, who was the very first to pay it forward, she also donated 10 podcasts, but she said Texas and Alabama. And then another guy from the union jobs guy, he donated 10. So we gave away like 30 podcasts. I mean, Oh, it was unbelievable. I have to sit there, when I gift these things to you, I have to sit there and actually get all your emails and put them in and send the gift to you. So, yeah, it was a great idea. It was absolutely great, but that was Iron Man that thought of that.
Well, thank you, Iron Man. I've bought my own podcast, but anybody else that's on the Christmas list that needs one, definitely write Randy.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All
Bye-bye
right.
now.
Bye. Scott in Los Angeles.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
Happy exit to Omarosa.
Did you hear about Omarosa, everybody?
Yeah, I heard she yelled and screamed, was dragged away, and it's great.
Okay, so Omarosa from The Apprentice, right? The first season. She actually was taken to the White House as the African American outreach coordinator on behalf of Donald Trump and has been working in the White House. She just got married. She invited almost 40 guests from her family to the White House to take photos and, just to take tours and blow, like she owned the place. That got annoying. And then yesterday she got into some knockdown drag out with General John Kelly, and cursing ensued, and she started threatening him and all. And then she tried to walk over to the residence to get Donald to defend her to what do you call him? The chief of staff, General John Kelly. And when she went into the residence, the Secret Service stopped her, and then she put up a fight with them, and she had to be dragged out of the White House.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired.
Well, the main reason I was calling, I just wanted to give you a quick shout out, because 2 months ago on your show, before a lot of the scandal was coming out, you said that the Alabama seat would flip to Dems. And I was like, what is she talking about? And then the story started coming out, but I didn't know if I believed it or not. And then it happened. So I just want to say you're always right about everything.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to be me. Sometimes I'm just too
hard
smart.
To be you.
Being too smart for the room is not it's not a position that I would wish on you.
Well, we relish it. So happy Hanukkah and
thank you.
Happy anniversary to you and the Howard.
Thank you.
Happy Roy Moore Day.
Thank you. Happy Roy Moore Day. Dennis in Buffalo.
Yeah, hey Randy. That was great news that you said about Omarosa. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But what I was calling about was because even though I was totally shocked when I heard that he had won Jones, I was listening to reports of people saying that there was a lot of voter suppression going on down in Alabama.
Yeah,
that people were coming in. They had voted at the same place last year. Then when they came in, they said inactivity. So they had to fill out a provisional ballot, which really is garbage if votes get down to, I don't know what the law is in Alabama, but it can be challenged.
Well, here's the law in Alabama. If you are on the inactive voter list, meaning you hadn't voted in like the last 2 elections, you're still eligible to vote. So they were trying to bamboozle people into believing that inactive meant ineligible, and it doesn't. It doesn't. So there were ACLU people down there. There were NAACP people down there, and they were advising people of their right to cast a ballot. But just so you know, Alabama has the distinction of being the most difficult place in the country to cast a ballot.
Explain.
Well, there's so many little things in the law for that allow for voter suppression, and the ID laws are strictly enforced, and yet the poll workers can vouch for a person if they know that person. So typically, like we talked to Trish yesterday, she had an expired ID, but she was allowed to vote because the poll workers vouched for her. And I had to ask her, are you white? And she said, oh, yeah, I'm lily white. I mean, I would hate to be black trying to vote here. So Alabama is, especially after 2013, when they we had the Voting Rights Act requirement that if you were going to move a polling place or, put confusing things on the ballot, if you were in one of these known states that practice voter suppression against African Americans specifically or in general, then you had to notify you had to notify the federal government that you were making these changes. And then the federal government would review these changes and tell you whether or not you could do them. But when the Supreme Court said racism is over, and in 2013 struck down that part of the Civil Rights Voting Act, well, then these places like North Carolina and Alabama and Mississippi, they went all hog wild on suppressing the vote. So they're telling people that, people were being scrubbed. People were being told that they were inactive voters, which means nothing. It means nothing. I mean, it doesn't mean you're ineligible, but they were telling people that. And this is because that is what Alabama is known for. So,
did you hear Ray Moore in his semi-concession speech, because he's still waiting on the military vote, but in his semi-concession speech, he said, I congratulate the Democrats for giving people rides to the polls. Now,
no, that wasn't him. That was another. But Dennis, that wasn't him. That was another guy that said that.
Okay, but that tells me that.
But it wasn't him.
The distance between the polling site and the voters had to be great.
Yeah, but he didn't say that.
It wasn't him personally saying it.
That's right.
But they at least admitted it, and that's another form of voter suppression, because I remember personally in Erie, Pennsylvania, that we had the same problem. We had one part of a black project. It was called Franklin Terrace in Erie, Pennsylvania. And half of the project voted within walking distance to a fire station. The other half, which accumulated about 384 registered Democrats who had a horrible voting record, okay, because they would have had to walk 13 to 14 blocks to the east side of the project to go vote and then walk back.
That's another way of suppressing the vote. It is, and that's what I'm talking about. When I was talking to the caller, I was talking to you about voter suppression. One of the things that they were not allowed to do without notifying the federal government was move polling places or change polling places or take polling places from pedestrian areas. Like in New York, you walk to the polls because most people don't have cars, or Erie, Pennsylvania, where you vote at the local school or the fire station or whatever. If you were going to do that, if you were going to close those places, or if you were going to limit the number of places, or if you were going to move the place to a place where people couldn't walk from their neighborhoods, you had to notify the federal government. Well, after 2013, these states that typically do this crap don't have to notify the federal government. That's why they do it.
And they had police out front saying that they had warrants. Now, I thought police under federal law were not allowed at polling sites or on election day unless they're called.
Yeah.
In other words, if somebody
I
they
think
needed a
that's
cop, they call a cop. But these, from what I understood, from what I was reading off Facebook, was that they were standing at the polling stations.
This explains a lot. Stop reading Facebook for news. Thank you. This is why we're always going round and round with you, even though you're trying to be, not a low information voter. Matt in Vancouver.
Hey, Randy.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
On your anniversary and Hanukkah. And helping drive this Roy Moore through across the finish line.
You what?
For helping get this Roy Moore thing out of our hair. Retarded. Well, here's what I wanted to call you about. I was in Alabama back in August when they had the primary for Luther Strange and all the rest of the Republicans that were running for that Senate seat. And Luther Strange couldn't get above 50% in the voter turnout. Now, the problem was that when I was in Alabama, the rumors on the street and some of the concern from some of the local media and some of the Republican officials was the drop-dead low voter turnout for those primaries in August, that it was like 11 or 12% turnout.
Yeah, it was the best number I saw was 15%.
Yeah, and so that's why they had to have the runoff in, what was it, September or October between Luther Strange and Roy Moore.
Right.
So, the people of Alabama were not thrilled with either one of the candidates to not even get up and vote for him in the summer. So that's partially the reason why Roy Moore got where he was, because of low turnout.
Well, there wasn't low turnout. For Alabama, it was high turnout last night. If it was low turnout last night, this is how crazy people win. The Republican Party only benefits when there is low voter turnout. When there's high voter turnout, they lose because most people in this country, believe it or not, vote Democratic. They don't vote Republican. And that's just an ugly fact, but it's a true fact. There are more Democrats than there are Republicans. But when voter turnout is low, Republicans win. When voter turnout is high, Democrats win, which is why Democrats work so hard to knock on doors, provide rides, and get the vote out. The Republicans, obviously, the 1.5 percentage points is what we won Alabama by. We shouldn't win Alabama at all because it's Alabama. But the reason why is because those Republicans that did turn out to vote, what happened there? Wow, that was weird. Those Republicans that did turn out to vote, 2% of them, which is more than the margin of victory, did write-in because they couldn't bring themselves to vote for this Roy Moore dude. And then a huge chunk of them sat it out because they couldn't bear to vote for this dude, Roy Moore. This was a nationally promoted election. So there was a good voter turnout, especially the African Americans. Oh my God, the turnout was insane. It was, like I said, it was better than for Barack Obama. It was an unbelievable turnout. So I tell you, the exit polls, black voters overall, big splash. They made up 28% of the entire voting population. And only about 29% overall in Alabama showed up to vote. So even by American standards, 30% show up to vote for a senator. This should tell you something about these red states. If they don't, because, 73%, there was like this huge turnout for Trump. But his approval rating is tanked now. In Alabama, it's 48-48. 48% like him, 48% don't. This guy has frittered away his chance.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
Firefighters have been digging those fire lines to halt the flames, but now the fires are jumping right over them.
Southern California fire, now the 5th largest in state history.
These companies are out there, shameless lies.
Trump administration attacks private company over national monument lawsuit. Trump to open up East Coast for offshore drilling. Plus, surprise!
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
Trump's EPA has slowed down enforcement actions against polluters.
All of those shocks and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Bears Ears alone holds more than 100,000 Native American cultural and archaeological sites. You know, if Trump goes ahead with this plan, I'm worried that Native Americans will stop trusting the federal government.
This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, it's been over a week, and these fires continue to get worse here in Southern California.
Yes, indeed they do. President Trump has declared a federal emergency to help free up federal disaster assistance. Firefighters have gained some ground against the 5 major wind-driven fires burning in Southern California, but not much ground against the Thomas Fire in Ventura County, north of Los Angeles.
It could literally feel like you're trying to put out a blowtorch with a squirt gun.
The Thomas Fire has burned nearly 400 square miles and is now the 5th largest wildfire in state history. Officials warn it may burn into January. Of the top 20 largest fires in California history, 13 have all hit since the year 2000. But the Thomas Fire is also moving up the ranks of the state's most destructive wildfires in terms of losses. Of the 20 most destructive fires in California history, 5 occurred this year alone.
And it's also worth noting that while the Thomas Fire may be the 5th largest in state history, it's the #1 largest to take place in winter.
Meanwhile, Bloomberg News reports that the Trump administration will announce this week a plan to open up vast areas of the Atlantic coast and the coast of Florida to offshore drilling.
What could possibly go wrong?
These are areas that had previously been off limits to the fossil fuel industry, and he's doing it in spite of bipartisan opposition from state governments. In a statement, the Natural Resources Defense Council said, quote, "The Trump administration is trying to grab the pristine ocean waters Americans own and hand them to polluters for exploitation and ruin."
This will be interesting because, yes, you're right. Republicans have been against this for quite some time on the East Coast. At least many of them. We'll see if they still are.
Especially off the coast of Florida. The Trump administration announced on Friday it will suspend a rule requiring drillers to limit methane leaks from oil and gas operations. Methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide on shorter timescales, but also failure to require drillers to repair these methane leaks has cost U.S. taxpayers billions of dollars in lost royalties from public lands. The New York Times reports that the Trump administration's EPA is far more lenient on polluting industries than previous administrations.
Who knew?
Since the inauguration, the Trump EPA has pursued 30% fewer cases against polluters than during the same period in either the Obama or George W. Bush administrations.
That's good news. I'm surprised that it is only 30% less.
Well, the Trump administration EPA has also levied fewer and smaller fines against polluters that break the law. And regional EPA officers must get permission from Washington before ordering certain kinds of tests for water and air pollution.
Here's the test. Have they donated to the Republican Party lately?
Good point. In the wake of President Trump's decision to slash the boundaries of Bears Ears National Monument in Utah by 85%, now new documents obtained by the Washington Post show a Canadian mining company specifically requested those cuts to Bears Ears in order to make it easier for them to mine uranium.
Making Canadian corporations great again.
Now the Trump administration and congressional Republicans have launched unprecedented attacks against outdoor retailer Patagonia, a private company, over its lawsuit to block the Trump administration from reducing those national monuments. In an interview on Fox Business News, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke accused Patagonia of lying and then misled viewers about the land being stripped of special federal protection.
There's not 1 square inch of land that is removed from federal protection. So, Patagonia made in China, These companies are out there, shameless lies. They should focus on how to bring manufacturing back to this country rather than lying to the public about losing federal land.
Now, the public still owns the land, but now it's being opened to mining and drilling. Plus, Zinke has asked Trump to create a new massive national monument in his own home state of Montana to protect it from fossil fuel drilling. Local media suggests it's because Zinke aspires to run for governor and Montana voters prize their public lands.
All for me, none for thee. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to, check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Find us, follow us, and share us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
You got to give it to me. You got to give it to me.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
People don't like to pay taxes, so you would think that this would be a good story for you, and yet, Mick, the Quinnipiac poll came out, and it shows that 55% of Americans don't like it, as opposed to 26% who do. Can you explain to me why people don't like the idea of a tax cut?
Sure, because if you turn to any channel besides this one, all you're going to hear is, bad news about this particular bill. I was walking in this morning to work, listening to the radio here in Washington, D.C., and it was one negative story after another about this tax bill. No one focusing, as you folks do, on what's good for people in this bill. So if you get your news here, you probably like it because you focused on what's good for you, but if not, you don't.
Oh, for Pete's sake, it's all about, fake news is what it is, that only 26% of Americans favor this tax cut for the wealthy, for the corporations. Only 26%. Yesterday it was 32%. Today it's down to 26% via a Quinnipiac poll. And the Republicans are just rushing this thing through to the point where the Grinch will steal your Christmas, right ahead of the vacation, right ahead of the holidays. It's just unbelievable. And Trump's tweeting out, Republican tax cuts are looking very good. In the meantime, the stock market hit another record high. I could just hear Appalachia cheering for that. I could actually hear the roaring of the people that work in the, they don't work. It's unbelievable. So the tax plan has wings, and by that I mean it's an albatross around Trump's neck, just like Roy Moore is. This is incredible. Last night, yesterday he was selling his tax cut. He brought up some sycophantic couples, to say how much money they would save under his tax plan, and even the ones that they handpicked have a pittance in savings that they are looking forward to.
When government loosens its grip, there is no summit we cannot reach. Our tax cuts will break down, and they'll break it down fast, all forms of government and all forms of government barriers, and breathe new life into the American economy. They will unleash the American worker. They will tear down the restraints on discovery, innovation, and creation, and they will restore the hopes and dreams of the American family. Millions of middle-class families will win under our plan.
No.
And today we are honored to hear from a few of those wonderful and truly great families. Bryant and Ashley Glick, right?
Oh, God.
Are from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I know it well. They have two beautiful children with a third on the way. Bryant manages a farm equipment store. Ashley works in healthcare. This year, they were in the 15% tax bracket. Under our plan, they will drop to the 12% bracket. It's a big drop. Instead of itemizing their deductions, they'll be able to file their taxes on a single little beautiful sheet of paper.
Oh, my God.
That's good.
Yay, no deductions allowed. Yay.
And instead of paying $2,600 in income taxes, they will get it down to $2,000. They'll save at least $600 and probably more than that.
Probably more than that. No, it's unbelievable. So they're going to save $600. Probably more than $600. This is how you sell out your country. This is why you want to drive up the deficit for $600. What $50 a month? That's their price. That's the Glick's price. And he kept introducing these couples, and they would say things like, "We're so excited, Mr. President, to be here, and we can't wait to save the $600 because we want to do home improvements." What home improvement are you doing for $600? I don't even think it could replace bathroom faucets for $600. I mean, the faucets are $400 and the plumber is at least $200. All right, maybe you could get a faucet. Maybe you could. Definitely not a kitchen. Maybe a bathroom. And only if you get the real old-fashioned glass ones, not the Kohlers. Kohlers could be $1,200, so you'd have to save for 2 years to get a new Kohler faucet. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolute lunacy. And I will tell you, it looks like they may not have the votes. It does. It looks like they may not have the votes to do this. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen because the bill has not been introduced for scoring. The bill is not going through regular order. John McCain, get well soon. He's in the hospital. And the bill is not out of the conference committee, so we don't know whether the House prohibition on deducting your scholarships, or is that going to count as income for the grad students? You know, we don't really know. We don't know. We really don't know. So it's interesting, though, that Marco Rubio today said that he's a no unless they expand the child tax credit. He's a no. John McCain, let's just review John McCain's position on the Bush tax cuts. Here's a blast from the past. Let's go back to 2004 with the real Meet the Press.
Will we have to increase the size of the deficit in order to expand the military?
Well, I think there's one thing that's obvious about this is that we are going to have to ask for more money after the election, and it's going to increase the size of the deficit. And again, maybe we're going to have to make some tough choices. You know, during the Vietnam War, they accused Lyndon Johnson of employing a strategy of guns and butter. Well, now we're employing a strategy of guns and pork. Look at the highway bill. It had 3,000 pork barrel projects on it, including bridges to nowhere in Alaska. So we're going to have to make some tough choices on budgetary-wise, too. We can't do everything we're planning on doing. Otherwise, Medicare goes broke, Social Security goes broke. Alan Greenspan, as you know, a couple of weeks ago said that we're going to have to change the benefit for retirees. Do you know a politician that's going to vote for that?
Since the Civil War, every president who has been at war has increased taxes. Should the president consider postponing his tax cut?
I voted against the tax cuts because of the disproportional amount that went to the wealthiest Americans. I would clearly support not extending those tax cuts in order to help address the deficit. But the middle income tax credits, the families, the child tax credits, the marriage tax credit, all those I would keep.
So now, unfortunately, John McCain, well, let's just review his record, shall we, for a brief moment. John McCain was against the tax cuts, the Bush tax cuts, in 2001. Then they did another round of tax cuts in 2003. John McCain was against those as well. By 2004, we were in war, and Bush wanted to increase the number of tax cuts. And in 2004, John McCain went on Meet the Press, and when he was asked whether or not we should delay the tax cuts while the country was at war, you heard John McCain say, "I voted against the tax cuts because of the disproportionate amount that went to the wealthiest Americans. I would clearly support not extending those tax cuts in order to help address the deficit. But he would support expanding middle-class tax credits that benefited middle-class American families." In 2000, he argued that Bush's proposed tax plan benefited the rich. So in 2000, he argued that the Bush tax plan benefited the rich. In 2001, he voted against the Bush tax cuts. In 2003, similarly, he voted against the second round of Bush tax cuts. In 2005, John McCain gave an interview to the Wall Street Journal to Stephen Moore, who now you regularly see on the CNN. He was a Trump guy, right? And he said that he thought, McCain did, that the Bush tax cuts were, quote, too tilted to the wealthy. I thought that then, and I still do. And he added, we have a wealth gap in this country, and that worries me. Then John McCain started running for president in 2008, and he changed his tune because the GOP would not go down that bad road with John McCain unless John McCain made tax cuts a primary focus of his campaign. And so the GOP, of course, always makes tax cuts their signature issue, and John McCain flip-flopped in 2008. But that was his, campaign. Other than that, in 2000, 2001, 2003, when it really counted, and you had to vote, he was a no. 2004, 2005, he's a no. He tells this to Meet the Press, and he tells it to the Wall Street Journal. 2008, he picks Sarah Palin and wigs out. But John McCain has said that the reason why he voted against the repeal of the ACA of Obamacare was because it did not go through regular order. It went through reconciliation. This tax plan is going through reconciliation. Not only is it not regular order, but there have been no hearings. None. The bill, we don't even know what's in it yet, and it hasn't been scored by the Joint Committee on Taxation, nor the CBO, or any responsible organization has not been able to look at it or score. We don't even know half of what's in it. And John McCain, unfortunately, is suffering from side effects from his brain cancer treatments, and he is at Walter Reed Hospital. I can give you your John McCain Christmas moment. This was actually very, very beautiful, I have to say. I don't know how many people, I don't really watch The View, but I saw it on a rerun, online. A lot of people, were posting it. And it felt to me like a very Christmas moment. And since it's like this, we're at the crossroads between the Hanukkah and the Christmas, I thought this was an appropriate time. It was really a beautiful moment. I didn't even know Meghan McCain was on The View, but she is. And Joe Biden was a guest. And when you look at the history between these two guys, the McCain and the Biden, they're like brothers from another mother.
This is the hard part. Bear with me, okay? I couldn't get through your book. I tried. Your son, Beau, had the same cancer that my father was diagnosed with 6 months ago. And I'm sorry.
But there's a lot of hope, babe.
I think about Beau almost every day. And I was told, I'm sorry, that this doesn't get easier, but that you cultivate the tools to work with this and live with this. I know you and your family have been through tragedy that I couldn't conceive of.
Well,
what would you tell people? It's not about me. It's about everyone with cancer.
No, it is about everyone. But look, one of the things that gave Beau courage, my word, was John. Mm-hmm. Your dad, you may remember when you were a little kid, your dad took care of my Beau. Your dad, when he was a mill aide, worked with me, became friends with Beau. And Beau talked about your dad's courage, not about illness, but about his courage. And look, there's a lot of things happening. Any of you have somebody who is diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is about as bad as it gets. There's breakthroughs that are occurring now. There's 4 things that are going on, and it can happen tomorrow. Like, for example, at the University of Pennsylvania, where I teach now, there is at the Abramson Center. What they found out is a thing called a CAR T cell. What they do is they take the cells, your T cells, their immune system cells, out of your body, and they reinforce it with an antigen, and that goes in and that finds the cancer cell, because the cancer cells can hide from your immune system. And they had a breakthrough with a new drug dealing with child leukemia, and it's working. Mm-hmm. There's other things called, they have a what they did with Bo. It's starting to happen now. They're using this CAR T cell, and they're using they inject a virus, and it generates into the cancer. So there's hope. And so there is hope. And if anybody can make it, your dad, her dad is one of my best friends. Her dad goes after me, hammer and tong. We're like two brothers who were somehow raised by different fathers or something because of our points of view. But I know, and I mean this sincerely, and I've said it all, even when your dad got mad at me, so I should get the hell off the ticket. And remember what I said about your dad? I said, I know, and I mean this sincerely, I know if I picked up the phone tonight and called John McCain and said, John, I'm at 2nd and Vine in Oshkosh, and I need your help, come. He'd get on a plane and come, and I would for him too.
That's such a beautiful thing. I mean, that's what we've lost, is the ability to disagree and be friends, genial, compassionate. That's all gone. But hey, let's pass a tax cut for the wealthy and then cut with all these miraculous new things going on in medicine to fight cancers like glioblastoma, which is a primary brain cancer and one of the deadliest ones we know. Let's cut Medicare. Let's cut the Children's Health Insurance Program. Let's not fund it, which they've already not funded. Let's cut Medicaid. Let's keep people away from all of these fabulously hopeful experimental treatments because they can't afford it, so that corporations can have their taxes cut from 35% to 21%, and you will go from 15 to 12. Woohoo!
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at the Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, and she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. The news out of Trump Town comes so fast and furious that it feels to many progressives as if they're being hit on all possible fronts at once. Senate Republicans approve a tax bill that would further pillage the poor. One day, the president opens millions of acres of protected federal and indigenous land to drilling the next. The day after that, the White House is recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and scuttling, we're told, the Middle East peace process. It's reckless, the press call it, but that doesn't seem the right word. The Trump GOP seems all about reckoning and paying their big donors back. It doesn't take a long research project to see how all these moves are connected. In Israel, the White House is in bed with the most far-right racist government in that country's history. They're in bed with the same sort of people in the U.S. In the Americas, their respect for indigenous land and rights and people is virtually non-existent, just as it is in the Middle East. In Israel, Washington plans to spend $38 billion in military aid over the next 10 years, while they simultaneously raid public coffers in the U.S. states. If there's any silver lining to the Trump apocalypse, surely, it's that the veneer of a social contract has been blown up. Government by the people, for the people, it's as dead as that Middle East peace process, which, by the way, Trump didn't destroy because it didn't exist. As far as the Palestinians are concerned, there's no peace process and there'll be no peace. Trade unions, political parties, NGOs, and refugee groups, essentially all of Palestinian civil society, called for a general strike in response to the White House announcement. In the U.S., the penny still has to drop. It's not recklessness on myriad fronts. It's all one front. It's all one wreck. You can watch this week's report on how activists in the South are coming together in the U.S. to build shared power this week on The Laura Flanders Show on Link TV, Free Speech TV, CUNY TV, or on our own YouTube channel. Find out more at lauraflanders.com. And thanks.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Just in time for the holidays, Republicans seem poised to deliver a gift to U.S. businesses.
It reduces the corporate rate from 35% all the way down to 20%. And it provides a one-time low tax rate to return corporate money parked overseas, trillions and trillions of dollars.
Republicans say that workers benefit when companies pay less tax. It'll free up cash to hire employees and expand operations.
Those are jobs. That's money we want to bring back. We're going to create expensing that incentivize company to spend capital here and create jobs.
But how much will the average American really benefit from corporate tax cuts? Will it really trickle down? Even executives aren't promising much. The Wall Street Journal asked a group of them if they'd pump more money into their businesses in front of Trump's very own economic advisor.
If the tax reform bill goes through, do you plan to increase your company's investment, capital investment? Just a show of hands, the tax reform goes through? Okay.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Because they won't.
A tepid response, considering companies are also getting extra sweeteners, including a reduced rate on trillions parked overseas if they bring that money back home. But CEOs of major companies admit that workers won't necessarily see more jobs or higher wages, at least not right away.
What about jobs and wages? Does that argument work? Is that an area you would focus on and you would invest in?
I think principally it's not a short-term change. It's not like there's a big box of money out there that suddenly comes back and gets reinvested by us in 2018.
Really?
In fact, studies show the last time there was a similar holiday on foreign profits in 2004, about 60 to 90 cents of every dollar went to stockholders, not investment. Bottom line, the tax break was not an effective way to grow the economy, according to the Congressional Research Service. And experts don't think it'll be different this time around.
No.
How much of that $3 trillion is likely to come back to be used to hire folks, invest in research and development, build new plant facilities and manufacturing? I would suspect it's fairly low.
But the fervor for big corporate tax cuts is helping fuel a so-called Santa Claus rally in the stock market. And you know that's making President Trump very happy. Look, the major question here is, do we really need corporate tax cuts right now? Third quarter economic growth came in at about 3.3%. That's pretty good. The argument against these corporate tax cuts is, why don't we wait until we really need a boost to economic growth, hold it in our back pocket, and then cut corporate taxes when it's really needed, potentially in a downturn?
Why don't we do that? Because these people are trying to reward their donors and get their fantastical wet dream underway, which is to cut Social Security and earned benefit, not an entitlement. I said this all last hour or the second hour yesterday. Do not ever refer to Social Security or Medicare as an entitlement. These are earned benefits. This is why you pay into the system your entire working life, so that when you retire, you have Social Security and Medicare, which is the bottom safety net for elderly and people who get sick or become disabled during their working lifetime. This is not an entitlement. It is a earned benefit. You have earned it. So obviously, Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid are all going to take big hits in this bill to pay for these corporate tax cuts. And then on the back end, just like, you heard Rubio say it, and you heard Paul Ryan say it, they will cut entitlements as soon as this tax bill goes through. They will in earnest start really hacking away at Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, welfare reform is next up. All of this is going to happen. And people who are going to get $50 a month out of this tax plan are going to lose 8 times that amount in benefits, earned benefits. This is craziness. This is, and by the way, not only that, but the cost of your health insurance is going to go up because they repeal the mandate to buy health insurance. Right now, if you go without health insurance, at the end of the year on your taxes, you pay $695 as a penalty. Now, there are plans that you can get for free, and there are plans that you can get for a very, very low amount. But some people are so stubborn that they would rather pay a $695 a year penalty to go naked, to go without the health insurance. Well, if you get rid of the mandate, more people will choose that, and they will also get sick because you can't plan when you're going to get sick. You can't plan whether or not your child is going to get sick. You can't plan an accident. You can't plan that you're going to get hit by a car. You can't plan whether or not you slip and fall. You can't plan these things. They just happen. It's part of life. And if you're not covered by health insurance, guess what? I have to pick up the tab for you. So my health insurance, which is already astronomically high, is going to go up. And that's another tax on me. Then they ask that if you're in a high tax state, that you choose between the SALT tax, the state and local tax deduction, or you could take the property tax deduction. Only one of the two benefits that are available to you now can you choose, just one of the two that you already have. One gets taken away. You choose which one you're going to give up, but the maximum amount could be $10,000. This is going to cost people money. This is going to cost people money all over the place. People who need health insurance, people who get Medicaid, people who get Medicare, people who get Social Security disability checks, people who live in high tax states like Connecticut, like New York, like California. The blue states are going to have to pay more because of the red states all over again. I mean, this is just crazy. And of course, we have the 2010 law known as Pay As You Go. 2010, they passed Pay As You Go, which has automatic triggers built into it so that when the deficit is increased by $1.5 trillion, those cuts automatically happen. And they are reduced drastically, those the benefits that I'm talking about. You're talking about $25 billion to start out of Medicare. $400 billion in the next 10 years will be cut out of Medicare, just as America is aging. This is stupid. And with this vote today on net neutrality, oh yeah, we're going there. With this vote today on net neutrality, you're going to pay more to utilize the internet, to download your Randi Rhodes podcast. And I'm going to pay more to put these broadcasts on the internet in the fast lane because we put out so much data every single day. We already pay Comcast top dollar to have business class access like on an airplane. And then they're going to charge you on the other side of this equation in order to download it at the speeds that you're used to. Everything ends up costing more under this ridiculous presidency. Everything. Living costs more. Dying costs more. Not dying costs more. Using the internet, which is regulated as a utility now because it is essential to do business. It's essential to have a home. It's essential for education. It's essential for small businesses like mine. Probably you know what, this net neutrality thing, let me just play you a quick video, okay? Just so you can understand what it means, what it is, what it does, okay? This one is, I think, the simplest explanation, but watch it.
What is net neutrality? It has nothing to do with a volleyball or a tennis court. The net refers to the internet, something that's become as necessary as water and power for most of us. The neutrality part is about keeping the net the way it is today. It's a set of rules the FCC approved in 2010 to prevent speed traps on the information superhighway. In other words, speeding up access to some sites and slowing down access to others, or blocking certain sites entirely. So are these rules a bad thing? It depends who you ask. The companies that deliver your internet, like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T, have spent millions in lobbying money to get rid of net neutrality, arguing that having the government micromanage their business is not good for them or their consumers. On the other side are internet giants like Facebook and Google, streaming services like Netflix, and President Obama. They all argue the internet is a public good and should be regulated like one. They also say the companies that own the pipelines can play favorites. For example, a content provider like Netflix is in direct competition with Comcast, which owns NBC Universal and controls access to the internet for more than 20 million customers. You can imagine a scenario where NBC might want to speed up streams of its shows and slow down streams of its rival Netflix. Now, Netflix can afford to pay for a fast lane. They make $4 billion a year. But the next Netflix, some awesome startup, can't.
Right.
So where do things stand today? It all comes down to the FCC and the position they'll take on this heated issue. Giant companies, millions of internet users, and the president are all awaiting their decision.
And they made their decision. And of course, the FCC, just like every other agency or committee in the House or the Senate, the majority rules. So you have 5 commissioners, 3 of them are Republican and 2 of them are Democratic. And the 3 Republicans voted today to get rid of net neutrality. So this is like your internet becomes now... like the airport, okay? You know, everybody loves going to the airport, right? If you have a first class ticket and you can get a pre-check thing on your ticket, well, then you go to the fast lane and you don't have to take your shoes off and you don't have to take your coat off and you could just speed on through. But if you're in cattle class, and because you can't afford a first class ticket, you have to stand on the security line. You have to take your shoes off. You have to do all kinds of, things to get through security, even if your plane is just, going to leave in 5 minutes, whatever. It all depends on your ability to pay for services at the airport. You pay extra for the clear line, which is a priority line for first-class passengers. Maybe you're a preferred customer of an airline, so you can get TSA pre-check clicked off on your ticket, and you can, go through the security line, but you don't have to take your shoes off. And there's a super fast celebrity line at the airport that comes with organic seaweed snacks. I don't know how many of you have ever been treated to that particular line. Probably no one in this audience, but it is there, and it does exist, and that's why celebrities don't stand with the milieu. They don't stand with the unwashed masses, okay? They go through a back door. And it all depends on who you are, what you can pay. And if that doesn't make any sense because you don't use the air, and the airport, how many airports do you have to choose from? Okay? Wherever you are, you may have one international airport and one other airport if you're very, very lucky. Some people have to take the little Embraer airplane to get to a major airport if they're going someplace. It could be like a whole day getting to, I don't know, from someplace in Maine to Florida. Could be a whole day. So that's what's going to happen with the internet, too. I mean, how many airports are there? Or if that doesn't make any sense to you, let's compare it to the supermarket shelves. I think everybody is pretty aware that placement in the supermarket is a big damn deal if you have a product. And that getting on a supermarket shelf is such a difficult thing to do. And there's priorities. So like the Winn-Dixie chain isn't going to put the Publix chain's, home brand on their shelves. So it all depends on, whether you have the ability to pay to be on a shelf or you don't have the ability to pay on the shelf. And then where you are on the shelf depends on how much you pay for shelf space. Same thing's going to happen to the internet. People who have the ability to pay to be on the shelf will be on the shelf, and people like me who can't afford the big money to be on the shelf will be, being sold, door to door or whatever I have to do, right? Or maybe that doesn't make sense to you. How about if you live in a city and there's an express traffic lane? Okay, so like in Miami, where there's so much traffic, I don't know if you have this in LA because I haven't been there in a really long time, but in Miami, we have an express lane. And the express lane, you have to have Sun Pass. Now, the Sun Pass is, a sort of an automated debit system, okay? And there are readers that can read your Sun Pass that you keep on your dashboard or you keep on your windshield. And as you drive through, the sensors charge you for driving through their particular checkpoint. Okay, so let's say you want to be in the express lane during rush hour in Miami. Well, then you'll pay $14.50 per trip one way to be in the express lane. And if you can't afford $14.50, then you're with the unwashed masses. However, if you want to use the express lane on off hours when it's not rush hour, it might cost you 50 cents. Prices fluctuate, with traffic's demands. That's the way the internet's going to be. And so if you have a small business like mine, and many people sell their, like Herky Jerky, great fine business, sells his stuff on the internet. What if all of a sudden I'm in the fast lane and Jason at Herky Jerky is in the slow lane? So I'm going to send you to Jason because you want to buy that stuff, the good stuff that I'm eating, right? And you go there, but Jason, the small business that he is, can't afford to be on the... What, are you going to wait a half hour for his site to download and then to click and then to get the order completed? No, you're going to navigate away from his page and either decide not to buy jerky, and you'll buy it from a big box store.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer, here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randi more than ever. Go to RandiRhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. It's been a year since the president promised to bring manufacturing jobs back at Carrier.
Some of the jobs that were going to go to Mexico indeed were saved, but another whole line at that factory is shutting down, and there doesn't seem to be much accountability for the president or follow-up. The reality is that for most people in that plant, their lives aren't better off today. In fact, they're facing considerably worse odds, and many of them will be lucky to ever find a job again.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
I have to tell you that this thing about net neutrality has confused a lot of people, but it's something that's going to affect almost everybody except for the 50 million people in this country who still don't have internet access. I want you to think about this. What if, Donald Trump really hates the ACA? He really hates Obamacare to the point where there was a money set aside for an ad campaign to let everybody know that open enrollment was open, and it closes tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day that people can sign up for the Obamacare and any tax, any subsidy that might be available to you depending on your income. Okay, so let's say he hates it. That's a gimme, right? He just despises it, and so he pulled back the money to tell people when open enrollment is. They cut the open enrollment period by a month, and then they refused to tell people that it was open enrollment. And it does end tomorrow. You should know that. But what happens with this net neutrality now that all of a sudden he decides he wants to put healthcare.gov, the website where you sign up, in the slow internet lane? So what? I mean, you're going to sit there for a half an hour while the pages, and you have to click through a whole questionnaire about how much do you expect to make this year, and did you qualify last year, and how old are you, and do you smoke cigarettes, and what's your sex, and every page has to load, right? So every question is a separate page, and then it'll say confirm and next, right? So now you're trying to click through this entire eligibility application, but each page is going to take 10 minutes to download. Do you realize that it could take you 2-3 hours to get through the whole process, and you will never, ever, ever get through it because he decided to put healthcare.gov in the slow lane? Let's say you were damaged in Houston with the hurricanes, okay? And you have a FEMA claim, a government agency. Well, let's say he wants to, I don't know, what was the word we used outside? He wants to, get you to give up on your claim, right? He just wants to. All right, so he takes. Yeah, great. So he takes FEMA.gov and he puts that in the slow lane to discourage you from trying to complete your FEMA claim, or to try and discourage you from checking up on your FEMA check, or to try this is what happened in Puerto Rico. He's going to turn us all into Puerto Rico. Remember, Puerto Rico didn't have internet they still don't have full service internet. There's still like 30% of that island that doesn't have electricity. So you have no electricity, you have no internet. And guess how you have to make your FEMA claim? Right, on the internet. And they can't do it. We're all going to be Puerto Rico now. This is insanity. This is crazy. And so today was the vote, and they rolled back the protections, and we've had these protections since Obama, okay, that kept the internet free and fair. And everybody who had a startup idea, or everybody that wanted to sell hey, you sell on eBay, good luck to you. You sell on Etsy, good luck to you. You have an internet show like ours, or you sell jewelry on the internet, good luck to you. Because unless you're established and you've got cash flow to pay these increased fees, and on the other end, your customers also pay, completing their transaction with you is going to take forever if you're in the fast lane and they're in the slow lane. Or if you're in the slow lane and they're in the fast lane, they're not going to have any patience to patronize your business. And if you're both in the slow lane, might as well go back to phone. Might as well go back to sending snail mail, to advertise. This is insanity. So we had 2 of the Democratic commissioners on the FCC write their dissents today, 11 pages in their dissent. here's the first commissioner, Mignon Clyburn. She wrote, I dissent from this fiercely spun, legally lightweight, consumer-harming, corporate-enabling, destroying internet freedom order. I dissent because I am among the millions who are outraged. Outraged because the FCC pulls its own teeth, abdicating responsibility to protect the nation's broadband consumers. Why are we witnessing such an unprecedented groundswell of public support for keeping the net neutrality protections passed in 2015 in place? Because the public can plainly see that a soon-to-be toothless FCC is handing the keys to the internet, one of the most remarkable, empowering, enabling inventions of our lifetime, to a handful of multi-billionaire corporations. And if past is prologue, those very same broadband internet service providers that the majority says you should trust to do right by you will put profits and shareholder returns above what is best for you. And then she goes on to explain how they all took an oath when they were sworn in as FCC commissioners to uphold the duties and responsibilities to make available, so far as possible, to all the people of the United States without discrimination, a rapid, efficient, nationwide, worldwide wire and radio communication service with adequate facilities at reasonable charges. Let me tell you something. The last time I saw a deregulation of something that everybody depended upon for information and public safety was radio. And it didn't turn out very well, did it? One corporation with, 5 people controlled all the radio in the United States of America after deregulation. Whereas before that, you had mom and pops all over the country. You probably had 10,000 to 100,000 owners of varying sizes, low power, high power, AM, FM combos, but mom and pop nonetheless, and hundreds of thousands of jobs that were necessary for those companies to run their radio businesses successfully. Deregulation came. Clear Channel went in and bought almost every single radio station because they could, because there was no cap on ownership. You could have 8 radio stations in the same market serving an entire city, all controlled by you. Same playlist if it was music, same talk show hosts if it was talk radio. So you ended up with 5 people on 3 different radio stations in your talk radio marketplace. Rush Limbaugh was on everybody's, radio station, regardless of the frequency of the dial. So 610 Rush Limbaugh was on, 940 Rush Limbaugh was on, 660 Rush Limbaugh was on, and maybe they even piped him into an FM. And there was no escaping a barrage of propaganda and no counter voice. Nobody to... Okay, I was the girl. I was the one that was hired, and I worked in between Rush Limbaugh and, Sean Hannity. This is so ridiculously scary to me. Because you have so many people who sell and buy and do all kinds of business on the internet who aren't wealthy, but do actually make a living somehow off of the internet. And now they're going to say, well, it depends on whether or not we want to throttle back your stuff, or, if there's competition for me, like Sinclair Broadcasting. Okay, they're buying Tribune Media, and the FCC is going to allow that media merger to go through. So you've got this uber conservative company that is now going to buy, the Chicago Tribune and all of its assets and control the content there. And of course, they'll be in the fast lane. Well, let's say I'm competing with them in the fast lane. With their political connections, they could actually talk the internet provider Comcast into throttling back my ability to even be on the internet in the fast lane. And if I complain, where will I go? The FCC used to be there to at least listen to consumer, complaints. So now if you think you're on hold a really long time for your cable provider now, or you think there's no person at all available to get customer service from at YouTube or Facebook or your broadband carrier, wait. Just wait. There will be no humans to take your complaint. There will be no consumer laws or rules of the road that can be brought against somebody who is, putting their boot on your throat and killing your business. Everyone knows, from consumers to small businesses, from places from Los Angeles to Skid Row, okay, in New York, just exactly how much they benefit from the internet. And the FCC when they wrote their opinion today, when the commissioners, Ajit Pai, who, by the way, was an attorney for Verizon, for Verizon, not just Verizon Wireless. He was an attorney from Verizon. And he's been, for 11 months, he's been our FCC chairman. And he's decided to do this. He's decided to put these rules of the road in place to throttle back and to charge more to consumers and to the people like me who provide content or provide a product or whatever it is on the internet. Sole proprietors like me, people whose entire business model depend on an open internet. Not one comment from them was included in the commissioner's decision to do this. Not one comment from anybody was included. And there were many, many people who depend on the internet for various things that understand that they are going to pay tolls for premium access, and that even the large online businesses have weighed in, and they said, they're just trying to reach their own customers, and that now they're going to have to pay more. It's going to cut into their profits. You have engineers from internet pioneers who have written letters. They shared with the FCC majority the fundamentals of how the internet works, and how there is no way something like this would ever see the light of day back in the pioneering days of the internet. There's just no way. The internet would have failed. It never would have happened had you had these rules in place. The innovators, they worried that, they're standing up to a mother may I regime where a broadband provider, becomes the arbiter of what is an acceptable online business model. Okay, they're going to decide whether or not my business model is something they will even allow to be promoted or to be accessed on their services, right? And so Sinclair's opinion, is going to dominate, the talk radio field and the online newspaper field. And if you're in the slow lane, that also affects your Google search results. Like, how often will you come up? And it just kills people's chances to be entrepreneurs. It kills people's chances to make a living on the internet. You're going to have these companies be the arbiter of what is a good business model. You're going to have these companies be the arbiter of what is good content. Really? This is like having a giant program director, who I hate, sitting in their office, getting drunk at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, telling you what they do and don't like about your show. And whether or not they're going to continue with a business relationship with you, except you're paying them to add insult to injury instead of them paying you. Which was the only reason to sit there with a drunk program director in the first place. And you should know this. There were so many fake comments posted on the FCC website. They got millions and millions and millions of comments. There were threats, there were intimidation, there were personal attacks. You had Nazis posting there cheering for this. You had Russian influence. You had fake comments. And the state attorneys generals, they all said that they needed to look into these comments because some of them, a good deal of them, millions of them, were attached to Russian addresses. And people's identities were stolen, and comments were written over their names, and it wasn't even them. There was so much fake commenting going on that the attorneys generals want to look into it to see, why so many Russian addresses. who is agitating, for propaganda to have the best place in the Google search results or to have the best place on the internet? Why were these people, involved in our rulemaking? So this is really frightening to me in a country where still 50 million people don't even have access to the internet, and now they never will. They never will. 11 pages. 11 pages. And the only thing that we can do about this on the positive side, lawsuits. Second you're harmed, your business is harmed. Second you find out you're in the slow lane, the second your customers find out they're in the slow lane, the second you see, then you're going to have standing to bring a lawsuit, and that's going to be the only remedy. Idiots. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.